Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing good. In my today's session, I'm going to cover what is Memento design pattern. Okay, so the Memento design pattern, without violating encapsulation, captures and externalizes an object's internal state so that the object can be restored to this state later. The usual usage scenarios for this pattern are restore an object to its previous state, that is undo via rollback, versioning of object states, and custom serialization. Okay, so basically, without violating the encapsulation principle of object-oriented programming, where you keep things which are internal to class, okay, inside a class in object-oriented programming, okay, so such things or such members are basically not accessible to outside programming objects, basically, which are outside of your class. So, in such cases, what Memento design pattern does is using this particular solution, you can basically change that object state to its previous state without violating the encapsulation. Okay, so even if the members are private in nature, but still you are able to set them to its previous state using this design pattern. How that is going to happen, I'm going to explain sooner. The memento pattern is implemented with three objects: the originator, a caretaker, and a memento. Okay. The originator is some object that has an internal state. So this is your domain object, I would say, basically. Okay. Which basically contains the state. Okay. The caretaker is going to do something to the originator but wants to be able to undo the change. Okay. The caretaker is something, or your client program, which is going to do some manipulations or some processing basically, okay, to change the originator or its internal state. Okay, and also it should be able to undo that change. Okay, the caretaker first asks the originator for a memento object, then it does whatever operation or sequence of operations it was going to do. The rollback to the state before the operations, it returns the memento object to the originator. Okay, to roll back to the state before the operations, suppose if you want to roll back all the operations you applied on a object, then what you can do is it simply returns the memento object to the originator. The memento object itself is an opaque object, one which the caretaker cannot or should not change. Okay, when using this pattern, care should be taken if the originator may change other objects or resources. The memento pattern operates on a single object, always remember. Okay, the memento pattern is cornered around a single object for which it basically maintains various states. Okay, so this care should be taken. So what problems memento design pattern solve? The internal state of an object should be saved externally so that the object can be restored to this state later. Okay, as already explained, the object's encapsulation must not be violated. Yeah. The problem is that a well-designed object is encapsulated so that its representation is hidden inside the object and can't be accessed from the outside of the object, as already explained. Okay, in most of the programming languages, what we use is the class in order to achieve that encapsulation. So what solution does the memento design pattern provide? Make an object, okay, originator itself responsible for saving its internal state to a memento object, okay, and restoring to a previous state from a memento object. Okay, two steps. First of all, make an object or originator itself responsible for, okay, saving its internal state to a memento object, okay, and restoring to a previous state from a memento object. Okay, two things are there. Only the originator that created a memento is allowed to access it. Okay, a client or caretaker can request a memento from the originator to save the internal state of the originator and pass a memento back to the originator to restore it to a previous state. This enables to save and restore the internal state of an originator without violating its encapsulation. So that's the UML class diagram. Okay, we have a caretaker object, okay, or the program, I would say, or our client program, I would say. I have a originator which basically maintains the state. Okay, the originator is one which basically contains the object for which states needs to be maintained or mementos needs to be created. So it contains the method create memento, which basically returns a current internal state of your state object, okay, inside your originator, and then restore, which receives a memento in order to set the desired state to your originator object state or originator object state basically. Okay, so memento object, very simple, it maintains the originator state over here, the state object, and it provides some methods like get state and set state in order to the get or set the state of your memento object. Saving state. Okay, what happens is whenever you call a create memento, it basically returns a new memento object of your state object, which is being composition, which is basically contained by your originator object. Okay, so what it does, simply it returns a new memento class object by passing the originator state. Okay, then restoring the state, as I already explained, state equal to memento dot get state. Okay, what it does is for the originator state, it simply what it does, it assigns the state object of the originator to the whatever incoming memento object over here. Whatever incoming memento object in the restore method, it just calls the memento dot get state, and that state object will be assigned to this. Very simple. Okay, so I'm going to explain this with a demo soon. So before going to the pros and cons, let's go through the demo. Yeah, so let's start with the various classes that I have created. Let's refer our UML diagram. Okay. So first thing is the originator, which basically contains the internal state of an object for which we want to maintain various states and perform restore of states. So let's go to that object, which is originator. Okay. So this is my originator class. Okay. I'm taking an example of how a customer basically buys a car. Okay, so I'm taking an example of buying a car. So originator is my customer. Okay, and he has a car quotation. This is the internal state. Okay, this is the one. Okay, so this is what I'm explaining over here. This originator class is maintaining the state, and that state is car quotation here. Okay, so this is the car quotation state this originator basically maintains, and then there is a method public memento. Okay, which basically creates a memento. And how it creates a memento? Very simple. It creates a new memento object and passes the car quotation object, the internal state. If you refer to this diagram over here, return new memento of state. So in my case, it is car quotation. So that's why I'm passing the car quotation. Uh, State object basically. Okay, and then public void set memento. Okay, which basically sets the memento which is coming, the incoming memento object. So you can resemble this set memento to this restore method over here in my UML class diagram. So what it does, very simple. Set memento in this lambda car quotation to the internal state, it simply takes the mementos car quotation object and assigns it to it. Okay, that's it, very simple. And get details simply returns the details of the current internal state of your originator object. Okay, what is the current car quotation? Basically my originator is maintaining that will come over here. And let's go on to the memento. What is a memento? Okay, so my memento class basically contains the car quotation. There's a state, basically it maintains the state. So if I go over here, see, even memento also maintains the state. Okay, so in my case that state is car quotation. So to constructor, I set the car quotation, the state of my memento. And how I'm doing, simply I will pass the desired car quotation state, and that will be set to this memento object. Okay, the internal state of your memento object. So car quotation will be set by this incoming car memento, and get details will return again the quotation details. Very simple, guys. Okay, the get and set is happening over here. Get is happening through printing all the details. Set is happening basically through the constructor itself. If we want, we can put a set memento method, but I have done it through constructor. Okay, so that's all about the memento. And then the caretaker, very important thing. Let's go to the caretaker. The caretaker is the salesman. Okay, when you go to a car showroom, basically when you want to buy a car, when you go to the car showroom, I think it is the salesman who basically approach you. Okay, and then the conversation will start. Okay, so what is this caretaker object or the client program, I would say. Okay, so this caretaker is, in our example, he is a salesman. Okay, so what he does is, whenever you give him a requirement, first you go with your initial choice. Boss, I have come up with a mindset of buying this car. Okay, so after going through After going through each and every specification, what are the various available feature in other higher end or mid-range cars, okay, or other cars, I would say. So the customer may change his mind and he may specify his own requirements, or he may change the choice of his car, right? So what this caretaker salesman does is he basically maintains the memento. Okay, memento means the car quotation basically. Okay, first the customer come up with a lower end car, then he has been given a demo on rich features provided by the mid-range variants of the same car, higher end variants of the same car. He has been provided some car loan options. When these kind of facilities provided, obviously customer will make a change of mind and he may go for either a higher end car, okay, or a mid-range car, right guys? So that is a real world example. So what this caretaker or salesman does is he basically maintains the list of car quotations. So how it's happening? Through add memento. First he came up with the initial car of his choice, for his or her choice, the customer. So with a lower end car he came into the showroom. So that memento will be stored into this list, and after the conversation takes place regarding various features, car loans, facilities provided, the salesman will keep on creating various car quotations for each and every variant of the car, and he will maintain that. So that's what's happening here. Very simple, very trivial example. And get memento, when you pass the index, it simply returns the memento. Okay, suppose if a customer provided two to three choices, okay, for the same car or a different car, what happens is this salesperson will maintain that each and for each and every car he creates a quotation, so that he can tell the customer what will be the price, what are the benefits, how much taxes he need to pay. So in order to do that, he has to maintain a list of quotations, right guys? So suppose if customer decides to buy any one variant of the car out of all his choices, then the salesman should be able to get that quotation and execute it. So that is done by this get memento method. Very simple. Okay, I hope you people understand. Very simple, not that complex it is. So then I will go to my program class, okay, which basically starts this execution. Okay, how the customer comes into showroom, how the caretaker approaches the originator or the customer, how he creates various quotations in terms of mementos, and how they execute. Let's start with it. So I will go to the program.cs. That's my main method, the driver application. So look at the comments, guys. The customer comes with an initial choice of car. Okay, so customer entered car showroom with the car Swift LXI. Okay, Suzuki Swift LXI. It's a lower end car in his mind, considering his budget, his constraints, what he can afford. So he basically come up with this lower end in his mind. Okay, so what we did, I'm going to create a originator. So my customer is originator. So originator customer, I constructed a originator customer object and set the initial mindset or the initial choice, which is Swift, LXI, and 5 lakh rupees. INR, Indian rupees. And then what are the other features? See, he don't want cruise control. It is false. So his initial choice is that he don't want a cruise control in his car. He want to control everything. Smart infotainment system, no. He's okay with the mid-range infotainment system. Hill hold assist, he don't want. And automatic transmission also he don't want. So basically he's going with the bare minimum features, the lower end car. Okay. Then comes the first creating caretaker. Now the salesman will approach. So I will create the object of the salesman, which is caretaker as per the UML diagram over here. Okay. So I created a caretaker object, and then what happens? Second, create a snapshot or memento of the current internal state of the originator. Okay. The original choice is a lower end car, which is Swift LXI. Okay, so what I'm doing, originator dot create memento. Okay, if you go to this method, it basically returns a new memento object. Okay, go to implementation. Yeah, can you see here? The create memento simply returns a new memento object by passing the car quotation state. That's it, very simple. Okay, so first I got the memento for his initial choice. First quotation has been made now for the initial car, which is a lower end. So caretaker added that memento to his list. Okay, the salesperson created a quotation for it and kept with him. Okay, now changing the originator current state to Swift VXI, the mid-range car. Now customer was manipulated. Okay, the salesman basically manipulated the customer in order to change his choice by providing various benefits, the new features or the various features provided by the mid-range car, and also if he pays a little more amount, he may get additional features. So this kind of things will happen usually when the deals will happen, right, guys? So when the salesman was able to convince the customer decided that okay, instead of going with the lower end car with a little more money, I can go with a mid-range car. So he changed his mind, he changed his choice. Okay, so changing the originator or current state to Swift VXI. See, from LXI lower end car to it's a mid-range car now. And as usual, customer was manipulated by salesman to change his choice. Now, one more quotation has been created for Swift VXI, 7 lakh rupees. Okay, but now it comes with a cruise control and a smart infotainment system. Okay, but it doesn't have hill hold assist and automatic transmission. Now, two extra features came into his list. Okay, he made a choice for that. Now, again, storing the internal state of the again we are storing the internal state of the originator object or the customer object, I would say, in the caretaker. Okay, and salesman pamphlet. Okay, that's what this is, the salesman pamphlet or the quotation he created for the second car. Okay, create the memento or snapshot of the current internal state of the originator. Again, I created a memento. Okay, which is for this mid-range car. Now originator's car quotation has been set to VXI, so created a memento and my caretaker added it to his list once again. Okay, he's maintaining the list of car quotation. Now two came into his hand basically. Now, again, changing the originator current state to Swift ZXI Plus, higher end car, guys. Customer has been given an option of car loan and rich set of features available in high end car. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So after listening to the various features or extended features available in a higher end car, again the customer changed his mind. Now he has decided to go with higher end car. Okay, that's what I'm printing there. I'm going to debug and show you guys. So now originator.car quotation, I'm setting it to the higher end car now. ZXI Plus, it is 10 lakh rupees. Now it has all the features. The smart infotainment system, cruise control, hill hold assist, and whatnot. Everything it has. Okay. Now the current state of the originator is now ZXI Plus. I'm printing it. Okay. Now restoring the originator to one of its previous states. Okay. Now this operation is going to happen. And what is the event which causes this? Let's see. Okay. I'm going to explain that. So we have added two memento to the caretaker or the salesman now has two quotations in his hand, one for uh, the VXI, the mid-range, and one for the ZXI, the higher end. Okay, now see what's going to happen. So after convinced by the salesman, anyway, customer made his mind to buy a higher end car. But what happened is the customer called his wife and shared his thought of getting a higher end car. Okay, and rest what happened we know based on the final decision. Okay, guys, I'm just giving you an example of how the internal state of an object is going to change based on the various business decisions. Okay, so it's a trivial example. The customer has called his wife. Okay, so we will come to know what decision he has made. Okay, so originator dot set memento, can you see this method? Okay, now he is executing his plan. Okay, now the customer is going to executing his plan of buying a car. So what he stick to actually, which car is going to buy? Can you see the index 0? 0 is for the VXI. So the wife mostly given the instruction that you are unnecessarily getting into the trap of loan. We don't want such a high end features, we want just a lower end car, so stick to your initial choice of car. So after getting instruction from home ministry, I think he decided let's go with the lower end car, which he came to the showroom with that in his mind. So what he did, he basically did a set memento, he stick to his initial plan. Okay, and now he's going to buy the new car. So basically you can see very simple example how the states are being changing for the customer object basically. Okay, he come up with the new initial choice, then he changed it to something else, again from something else he went to some higher end car, again due to some events or some business decision, again he decided to stick back to his original choice. Okay, so that's what happens basically. So if I run this program, let me show you quickly, doing a .NET build, and then I will do a .NET run. So I think this formatted output should help us now. So customer entered car showroom with a car, Swift LXI in mind. Okay, so can you see the output? The car quotation snapshots maintained by the sales representative or by the caretaker as per our UML diagram. See the memento. Okay, the first memento has been created for the LXI, which is the lower hand car. Okay, then changing the originator current state to Swift VXI. Customer has been changed his mind to opt for a mid-range car. One more memento has been created, or car quotation has been created for VXI. Okay, then customer has been given an option of car loan. That's what I said. Again he made his again he changed his mind, and again he is going to opt for a higher end car. So customer has been set to this state, which is basically the higher end car of ZXi plus. So current state is this. He has made a choice to go with this only, but again due to some business calculation, okay, some processing, he took a decision that now no, I think he don't want to take the additional burden of loans and all. So he want to stick to his initial idea of buying a lower end car. So what happened basically, the originator's state has been set to the initial choice by calling the originator dot set memento method over here. The originator dot set memento method, and how that memento is coming, basically it's coming the zeroth element, the zero choice he made. Can you see? Okay, the current state of this originator object was a ZXI plus. Okay, so without directly setting, okay, without directly setting this originator dot car quotation to its previous state, what we did, instead of maintaining array of previous states into my client program itself, we basically achieved that by maintaining the set of car quotation into our caretaker object in terms of mementos, and by calling the caretaker dot get memento of zeroth element and calling the originators the set memento method, we set the previous state of an object. Okay, the previous state of the originator object. So we didn't violate the encapsulation. Everything happened through this public interfaces only over here. Okay, guys. So that's all about the memento pattern. Let me run this program and I will show you quickly how it works out. So let's debug this program quickly. So I'm going to start that. Okay, let's just, okay, I first created the originator's initial state by setting the car quotation. Okay, that is to the lower end. Okay, now I'm creating the object of caretaker, which is the salesman basically in our example. Okay, the caretaker salesman. So let's do a F10. Then I'm going to create a memento. If I do a F11, you would see, okay, what it is doing. This lambda or this public method basically returning a new memento object which contains a state car quotation. Okay, so if I do a F11 again, it is should go inside the memento constructor, the public constructor, and it will set the memento. Okay, that's it. I set the memento, and now I'm going caretaker dot add memento because customer has came up with the initial choice, so I have to give a quotation for him as a salesman. Okay, so what I will do, I will maintain that. So I will add it to my list. So if I do F11, can you see here? The car quotations list is basically a list of memento objects. Okay, so that's what adding to the list. Car quotation snapshot maintained by caretaker or sales representative, and I'm printing the details. Okay, what are the various details associated with the first car, the first choice basically. Okay, then again I will continue. Again, the originator made his he basically changed his mind, and again he changed the choice to VXI. Okay, again I creating a new state now. Okay, I'm creating a memento basically for this new choice created. Okay, and again my sales representative maintains that also into his list. Then comes the third choice. Okay, now what happens after some business calculation? Okay, what happens is basically customer thinks that again he wants to go back to his previous state or his previous choice. Okay, the one with which he came to the car showroom. So zeroth element basically represents his initial choice. That's what I have mentioned here. Index 0 is VXI. Yeah, zeroth element is basically, yeah, the VXI. Okay, so that's what he should set stick to his initial plan. Okay, so that's what is going to happen, and that's it. I continue. should execute the program. So that's what, after the program runs successfully, you would see that the final choice made by him is the LXI with which he came into the showroom. That is the zeroth element of your mementos list, basically represents his initial choice. Okay, that's LXI. I hope, I think this is pretty much clear for you people. Thank you for listening, guys. Before that, yes, yes, there are pros and cons I need to cover. Yeah. Okay, okay. Important stuff. Yeah. So, what are the pros? Pros are the encapsulation of state saving and restoration. Okay. So basically, with encapsulation, you are going to perform the state saving and restoration. You won't break the encapsulation concept of object-oriented programming. Supports undo operations, as already explained. You maintain a list of mementos into your caretaker object and you can very easily set to any previous state. Maintains the principle of least knowledge. Yes. Okay, basically all the objects have very least knowledge about each other. They are not hard, they don't have a hard-coded references. Okay, and the disadvantages of this pattern are basically, yeah, the cons I would say, misprinted statement. Okay, so additional memory overhead due to storage of mementos. Do remember, for one object, in case of just one object, I maintained here almost how many? Yeah, I almost maintained 2 to 3 states, guys. Just imagine if the same pattern works out for multiple business scenarios, then for each such object you are going to maintain this kind of mementos. So leaves a memory footprint, basically additional memory overhead due to the storage of mementos. Okay, it leaves a memory footprint and increased complexity of the code base. Agreed, because just for one object you are required to maintain this entire structure over here. Okay, maintaining the caretaker object, the internal state of that object or the object itself, the domain object itself, and then the mementos, originator, everything, right? If for one object this is this much setup, then think about a n number of objects, how much code basically you need to maintain. That's why this is very least frequently used pattern, and this is specifically meant for undo redo operations basically, or the rollback mechanism for which they basically use it. Okay, so these are the cons associated with this pattern. Okay, so thank you for listening, guys. I hope it's pretty simple, and I hope it's very clear for you people. Okay, thank you, and have a nice day.